Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome back to a best of 3 series of professional StarCraft 2. Now what I've got for you today is a Zerg versus Protoss, where in map number 1 we find ourselves on a Nightshade. Spawning here in the top left hand corner, playing with the blue Zerg drones. From Ukraine, we're looking inside of the main base of Bly. His opponent in the opposite corner with the red Protoss probes from the United States of America, we have none other than Neeb. Alrighty, so here we go. This should be a really fun series. Already a probe going across the map. This is like a recent thing that a lot of Protoss players have started doing, where they basically send the probe out so early, before even planting down that pylon on the low ground, just to prevent, there it is, this hatchery from going up in the first place. Really annoying move. Now, the thing is, I would be a little bit scared if I was Neeb doing this against Bly. So, for those of you unfamiliar, Bly kind of like... Bly? That's a new nickname. Bly kind of like plays his own playstyle in this matchup especially. For the longest time, he was going hyper-aggressive build orders. He did so for many, many years. And then for some reason, he decided to mix it up and he started really playing that super macro-focused style. For about a year or two, especially like 2018, 2019, he was just playing macro non-stop. He would bring the game to like the 30-minute mark and then eventually he would win. Now, since they've nerfed the Brute Lord Infestor style about a half year or so ago, he's once again gone back to his roots, and he's playing very, very aggressively once again. Lots of cheeses, lots of Zergling, Baneling action, lots of Roach Ravager action as well. And you know what? He sent a second drone down towards the low ground to try and make a hatchery there regardless. He now sent that drone across the map. Now, at this point, he doesn't have the minerals for, you know, a proxy hatch here, but that is certainly a move that I would imagine he wants to go for here, because it's one of the things that he does. Alright, he's coming up on 300 minerals. Yep, there it is. Now, what's fascinating about this kind of thing, right, is that Bly, he's a very, very strong player, right? But none of the other top-level Zerg players do this kind of style. They never execute this kind of cheese or this kind of aggression. We see it every once in a while. Like, for example, yesterday in the GSL Code S, we see Scarlet, or we actually saw Scarlet, doing, like, similar builds against Deer. But there's no denying that this is not conventional. Like the Serals of the world, the Darks of the world, the Sus, there's obviously no plural on these. But anyways, like you get what I'm trying to say. Like none of those seem to execute these kind of styles. Now, it's not like Bly is going up against like a weak Protoss player here that he feels like he can just win against him by playing really cheesily. No, obviously Neeb is one of the very strongest players in the world. And yeah, he somehow, some way seems to make this kind of stuff work. Now at this point, Neeb has no idea about what's going on, but I think he will figure it out shortly. Judging by the fact that there's link speed coming up, and a Roach Warren right now as well, I think that Bly is gonna halt droning here. Yep. He does have that natural expansion, I guess, over there, but that's just gonna be for larva production. He is gonna just simply start piling on the pressure. Zerglings are already on this side of the map as well. Mostly just to force that Adept to stay at home. Normally it's the Adept that scouts the third hatch. So the Adept does shade in right now. A couple more Zerglings, however, we're waiting out. And they're going to start working on these probes. Now, every single worker kill is significant. But look at the worker count right now. We're talking 18 drones versus 31 probes. So killing this entire mineral line, yeah, would be nice. But you need to deal more damage than that. Queen is coming up there as well. Roach Warren is done at this point. 3 roaches already on that production tab right now. He was waiting until 3 larvae was available over here. And now he's going to be able to start piling on the pressure. Zergling speed will finish up in just a little bit. Still, Neeb has no idea. There is an Oracle coming up. That one is indeed rallied towards the front, so not straight across the map. That at the very least is a nice advantage. But for all Neeb knows right now, there might just be a hatchery over here. And it might... Oh my god. Okay, I was going to say, is he going to send it across? No. He does see the creep here. But for all that, like, Neeb knows at this point, it could just be a very conventional, Zerg macro game. Well, at this point, he figured it out, though. Gonna be quite a bit of aggression here. That first Adept taking an awful lot of damage. A couple of shield batteries are being made, but there's only one pylon powering all of this. And once that pylon falls... Oh my god, Warp Gate did not finish. Yeah, that's 1.8 seconds away from finishing. And just like that, Bly overwhelms his opponent in game number 1. Alrighty, so there we go. Game number 2. We find ourselves on the map Zen. A very explosive game number 1 though, right? So you make one little slip up, and I think that's probably what it comes down to. You make one little slip up, you don't see exactly what's going on, you decide to go for that Stargate opener, and you're basically dead. It's kind of crazy how, like, tight a lot of these build orders are. I'm sure that Neeb will be a little bit more diligent this time around. Also not like sending out the probe, right? So he knows obviously that Bly loves playing that kind of style. Is Bly gonna go ahead and pull it off again? So this time around, he's not send out the probe to like block the natural. He's like, no, dude, you just go ahead and, you know, take that base. As long as I, you know, can play a bit of a longer game, I'll probably win. Right? Like, Neeb is certainly a very stock standard, like, macro-focused Protoss. And while Bly is obviously very good at that as well, I do think that Neeb in, like, a longer, drawn-out game is certainly the one who has an advantage. Well, once again, actually, oh my god, it's just gonna be a pool really, really early on. A gas geyser really early on as well, and there is now a drone dodging that probe. So he sees where the probe is located with those overlords, and then he sends the drone around it. Very interesting. Yeah, he's just making this look like it's a standard hatch, like I guess gas pool hatch. Sending this drone down as well to, like, oh my god, he's pretending like he's going for a hatchery here on the low ground. Now, I love this, actually. Neeb is scouting this. You saw that? That was a small little move, but he saw that the drone that moved down did not actually plant down the hatchery. So that's very significant. The hatchery instead is once again going up over at the third base. Neeb is sending the drone or the probe rotor in that direction. I love this as well. Oh my god, that's brilliant. So, structures that are still like building don't have a lot of vision for Zerg. So this structure gains a lot more vision once it's done. So Neeb at this point knows that there's a proxy hatch, but Bly does not know that Neeb knows that there's a proxy hatch. Now obviously, you know, he does know that Neeb knows that there's no natural expansion, so he probably assumes that his opponent knows that there's going to be some sort of cheese. But yeah, there's like some 4D chess being played right here. Already a secondary pylon being added on. A zealot was made as well. Wouldn't be surprised if it's going to be a robo bay this time around, or robotics facility rather this time around, rather than a Stargate. We'll have to keep attention or pay attention here to what he decides to go for. You don't really want to march out too far, my man. Link speed is quite a while away from finishing, but once again, it's that roach warren coming up. This did not get scouted, although Neeb may have spotted there that a couple of drones were still returning gas. So that's a pretty big tell as well. Could still be banelings too, though. Man, he's so cheeky with these Zerglings. They were waiting there very, very patiently, and now they do run by once again. This is very annoying here for the Protoss. Robotics facility is coming up. Now notice as well in this case, he's not making nearly as many probes. So last time at this point in the game, he was like at 30-something. Right now, he's only at 20. So every worker kill right now, quite significant. Nicely done. One worker kill. Good probe micro there, though. Still has full saturation on that one base. This did buy enough time right now for Bly to morph in Ravagers as well. I think he's going to go for a second one. Is he not? Nope, never mind. He just made additional roaches instead. Hey, one little key move over there is that he keeps waiting until he's got larvae available. And then he makes like a bunch of roaches at once rather than like, you know, saving up or trying to produce them as fast as possible. He seems to like produce several at once whenever he has the option instead. It's kind of cool. Anyways, we do now see those roaches and Ravagers working on those stalkers. Robotics facility is done. Oh my god! A little bit of miss micro there actually by the Zerg. Probably meant to pull the yellow HP one forward instead of the red HP one. Immortals coming up, and that is 4 shieldy boys. Oh no, 3 shieldy boys over here and an extra pylon. I've got a feeling that this is pretty much hell, right? Am I crazy? Like, what exactly are you gonna do here? I've seen Bly pull rabbits out of hats in the past, but this is still like a... Yeah, he's actually droning again on the back of this too, so... He probably is assuming... Well, you know what? I thought he was gonna go ahead and maybe... Yeah, no, I think he wants to just go into like full one base saturation and then start producing a lot more Ravagers. Because if you wanted to play macro here, you'd probably take the natural and then start producing a lot of... you know, drones and whatnot instead. I think he just wants to like spend all of his gas right now on Ravagers. So I don't really know exactly what the exact number is. But for example, like a bunker, you need to spend, I believe, 7 corrosive biles to one-shot it. And I'm sure that Bly knows the number as well to one-shot a shield battery. Right? Say it's like 7 corrosive biles as well. As long as you get 7 Ravagers out, you can just kill every single shield battery in one hit. Now, this is now way slower though than that previous game, right? Oh, well, there you go. How many was that? No, it's not 4. I think it's like 5 or 6. He already damaged it a couple times before that as well, and they obviously also regenerate pretty quickly. Ooh, well. Actually, losing their Cyber Core here would be quite used as well, because, I mean, Warp Gate is not done yet, Obviously, you need the cybernetics core in order to produce shield batteries, but also stalkers and sentries and adepts. So once the cybernetics core is gone, no warp gates. Well, it's almost gone. No warp gates, no more shieldy boys, and not a whole lot more after that either. Plus, it opens up the front door here very nicely for the Zerglings to run into that mineral line too. Now, they're kind of derping over here. That one shield battery in the mineral line actually absolutely amazing. Nicely done there by Neeb. Juggling those units brilliantly, by the way. I haven't really been paying attention very much to that, but the Immortals are still alive. And just like we saw Haas using the juggling in the Zerg's natural, right? About a year or two ago at this point, he was doing a lot of those Immortal jugglings by making the Robo units inside of the natural of the Zerg. Now we see the same thing happening at home and used defensively instead. It's one of the most powerful micro abilities in the game. Keeping your units alive instead of the Warp Prism. Not easy to do at all. But, I mean, if you're a top-level player, you can get a ridiculous amount of value out of it. So already, man, these two boys holding hands, basically, right? They're not social distancing. They're clumped up together right there inside of that prism. That is trying to get maximum value. Now, at this point, Neeb has been slowly adding on a couple more probes. So look at the worker counts right now, actually. 40 probes versus 22 drones. I've got a feeling that the longer this goes on, the easier it's going to be here for the Protoss player. So he's still making zealots. Is he going to reproduce a cyber core? Yeah, there it is. Playing super slowly. Oh, well. Nicely. Oh, actually. No, I did end up losing one of them there. But I mean, every single time like one Immortal falls or like one Protoss unit falls here, it seems like there's like 7 Zerg units going down. It adds up very quickly. Ooh, you see that? Almost ended up losing the prism there. Maybe I should just start commentating this in sound effects instead. Ooh, ow, maybe that's the better way of commentating this. It'll be about as descriptive of everything else that's, or as everything else that's going on the screen right now. That gateway started to take a bunch of damage as well. It does finish up with one more gateway unit. Immortal starts to take a lot of damage here too. But I mean, he's just juggling them back all the time. Bringing them, oh, well, a little bit of miss micro there, but bringing them back to the safety of those shield batteries. Nice bit of control though. Bly trying to go in once again. Gets a good set of bows there on some of those stalkers. They don't have blink, but they do have a prism. Not the cleanest control here ever by Neeblit, but I think he might just have enough, right? Like in these kind of scenarios, StarCraft 2 very quickly turns into a numbers game. As soon as he finishes up warp gates and he like really like settles on that 2-base production, he's gonna be in an amazing spot. Now, if I may be critical though, I can't help but notice that like while he's juggling over here, and that's going pretty well, he did lose a few Immortals. He does have full energy right now on both of the next side. That's a pretty significant error, right? Like you really should not be having any Chrono Boost energy in these kind of scenarios, right? Bly in the meantime though, really not making any errors here. He's just trying to pull a rabbit out of a hat right now with those Ravagers, trying to get the golden corrosive biles. He does have many of them. One important thing actually to note about Immortals is that they deal bonus damage to armored units. So they deal a lot of additional damage to roaches, but Ravagers are not armored. So Ravagers are actually not really like, you know, their main thing to fire down. I love this actually as well. He brought an extra Overlord here to like get even more vision, so he can continuously shoot down a lot of these structures. And you know what? Like, if Neeb does not stabilize here and really get control of his mineral and gas count right here, and if he doesn't like, you know, start chrono boosting stuff, I really don't even mind this scenario very much here for Bly. At that point, it would be a much deserved victory, right? Trying to get some corrosive balls there. No moving here by Neeb. Neeb, are you falling asleep, my man? He does have a lot of gateways done right now, and he can finally start warping in stuff. He doesn't have that much free supply. Apparently, he is feeling confident, though, that he can now counterattack with the Prism, too. 2 additional gateways are coming up. He's now starting to warp in as well some High Templar. So this is going to be Archon Immortal Zealot. Charge is done at this point as well. I guess this is just a scouting Prism at this point. Not bad whatsoever. Why is he not warping in? Doesn't he not have... Like, these gateways are not on cooldown, are they? I mean, he just warped in a couple of High Templar, but he has way more gateways than that. Alright, well, I guess he was saving up some of those warp-ins to go into the main base as well. Bly does not see this in the corner, since no significant amount of damage really was done here, right? These Zealots should be able to, like, well. Charge into the mineral line and then go after the queen instead. Poor Karen, man. Look at her. Her guts are still out on the battlefield. A little bit sad. This now does also force a bit of a desperation move out over here. Now, Bly was actually starting to mine from the base over here, which I guess is his new natural. Zealots are being warped in as well. You know what? These roaches and ravagers, they're getting a lot of value in. Neeb, for some reason, decided to move super deep onto the creep. He eventually does get the kill on the hatch, though. Zealots will be able to clean it all up. And Neeb does obtain the victory, but that was a hell of a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. Alrighty, so here we go. That brings us to game number 3 in this best of 3 series. This is match point for both of these. I wonder if those kind of slip-ups happen primarily because Bly is forcing players to play very differently than what they are used to. So I myself am very similar as well in that way. Like I'm pretty good when I get to play my conventional game and the game that I've practiced thousands of times, right? However, whenever I get thrown off and I get thrown into like a really weird position, that's where I really don't feel comfortable and my macro all of a sudden goes down like 4 leagues. Like I really feel super sloppy whenever I get into a situation where I'm, you know, basically playing the game that Neeb was playing just now, right? And once again, it is going to be a pool first here. But when you get thrown off, like the game becomes much harder. So it's easy to critique as an outsider who's watching the game, right? But there's a good chance that Neeb's heart was beating at like 180 beats a minute. And he was, you know, probably just trying to survive in that game. Trying to focus so much effort on those juggles. That as an observer, it's very easy to like judge players. But, I mean, I have seen players, though, be super clean there as well. And I really feel like that separates the best of the best from like, you know, really, really strong players. I mean, I've never really not seen Serral, you know, queen inject, for example, right? I guess if we, like, take a top-level player and we compare them, like, Serral will hit his queen injects. You can mess him up, you can try and, you know, force him to be in a weird position, but he will always keep queen injecting. He will never get a supply block. Now, what's going on over here? So, I brought up Scarlet versus Deer earlier, right? Didn't I? I believe so. Anyways, this is a game... Or that was a game, rather, that was played yesterday in the GSO Code S. Now, I love this. Neeb actually scouts it immediately. So what Scarlet decided to go for in the GSO Code S game against Deer, she also went for this hatchery over here. Then she took this gas over here, which is a rich Vespian geyser. It mines for twice as much as a conventional gas, so you can basically get, like, you know, a very high amount of gas income very quickly. And then she started making tons of Ravagers and basically killed the Protoss eventually. Now, it's a difficult move to make. Also, this hatchery, actually, if you plant it over here, there's natural creep that gets spread over towards this high ground. So you can actually bring a queen and then put a tumor down over there. It's actually really cool. I'd never seen that before, but apparently now we see it twice in 2 days, huh? Anyways, Neeb decides to actually put down a pylon over here. Okay, I actually think that's really clever. Since he figured out exactly what's going on here, he can start building static defense over here. Yeah, I love that. Okay, he decides to go for a shield battery already. That means he can deny a lot of this quite comfortably. Once again, Roach Warren coming up. Heavy Zerg cheese, by the way, man. This is something else than, like, you know, all the cannon rushes and all of the, you know, proxy barracks that we have been seeing for years. Bly really is the only one that's executing this kind of stuff. So let's see what we have in this game. Is he gonna bring drones? I actually wouldn't mind him bringing drones here whatsoever. I do think that if you want to go Ravagers, this is, like, absolutely amazing. Like, you can get so many Ravagers off of that, right? Like, we could see the improvement that just 1 additional gas made previously. Imagine, like, you know, effectively mining off of 3 gases just by mining off of 2. You need less workers and everything. It makes a lot of sense. Look at that, by the way. You can put a tumor over here. It's really sick. Either way, Neeb is as prepared as you can be, though. And he immediately loses the static defense. He does add on more and more of these units. Is he once again going to go for a robo here? He did already finish up the cybernetics core upgrade this time around as well, so not going to lose warp gate again. That's happened twice now. Not happening again. Going to be able to get himself a lot of stalkers out. And honestly, stalkers are not a bad idea whatsoever. Maybe even getting blink. It would not be a terrible idea. He already once again has that supply advantage. We'll see if he decides to go for any kind of tech. I mean, he went Stargate, didn't really work. He went Robo, that kind of worked. I think Robo is a really good choice. We haven't seen Twilight Council yet in this series. I would like to see that as well. Maybe with, like, Charge and Blink. That'd be fun. You can maybe add on some Archons as well. Sentry coming up here too. This is funny though, right? Look at this. 2020 StarCraft is weird, man. If you would have shown me this game in 2011, I would have been so confused about what's going on. Like, first off, what are these structures? Where's the mothership core? Was that a thing in 2011? I actually don't know. Either way, yeah, this is certainly like a weird, very strange looking setup, but it makes a lot of sense. So, on the back of this, actually, we now see drones coming up as well for Bly. He was starting to do that in the previous game too. So I think he's probably looked at this and realized, okay, this is not going to happen. Like, I'm not going to get a lot of value out of this. So if you want to try and get cheeky with me and you build a lot of static defense over there, you go ahead and invest, like, I don't know, 10,000 resources, give or take, on you know, some structures outside of your natural, but they're not going to be very useful if I just play macro instead. I mean, he invested into a couple of roaches and obviously a hatchery, but it's not the end of the world. You can always use this as, like, creep spreading, right? And a hatchery is basically just a big supply depot, right? It's just a big overlord. Plus, it spreads creep, so, yeah, no, Brenda can go to town over here. I actually really like that he's playing macro off of this. At least that seems to be the case. Yeah, he keeps on adding on drones. So this is not like in game number 2 where he was basically trying to fill out saturation in his main base. He's now already over-droning the main base, and he's adding on more. So I'm sure he's going to transfer some of those workers here towards the low ground. There it is. Okay. What's going on here, man? This is such, like, this doesn't really make a lot of sense. He's now spreading creep back from the center of the map towards what seems to be his own natural. Not your conventional game of ZVP. Now, Neeb is playing this very cautiously. He's adding on a couple of probes at a time, but really not that many. I would honestly like to see him just go for, like, a standard, like, say, like, Archon Immortal timing attack. Maybe it's a little bit late right now with this robotics facility timing, but you could go like 2 Immortals, War Prism, Observer, and then add on like a Twilight Council, get charged, and just go for like basically an 8 gateway all in, right? I mean, he's not going to be able to take his third base here because there's going to be creep on it, which is... That's not something we normally have, but... I wouldn't mind it. Lara's coming up as well here. Bly's just going to make another base? Yeah, he's just playing macro now. Huh. I always say that, like, the scariest players are the ones that cheese, but that can actually play macro, right? So that's, for example, one of the things that Haas is good at. Like, yeah, he cheeses a lot, but he's actually got legitimate macro to back it up as well. Like, the players that I don't really respect very much, and, you know, I... don't be offended, okay, if you're one of those. But if you cannon rush it, you cheese every single game, but you know that's like your only thing, like you're like a one-trick pony. I'm not very impressed with those kinds of strategies. Yeah, you can hit Master League playing, you know, cannon rush every game, but whoop-de-doo, right? You still suck at the game. Congratulations. You know, like it's really the players that can cheese and then recognize, okay, this is not gonna work, and then play macro on the back of this. That's really, really scary. There's, by the way, Brenda. She's finally going to meet Karen for the first time. Will they get along? We'll see in just a little bit. She walked all the way from the center of the map backwards. I guess if the creep cleaning squad over here is going to march, maybe he can start hitting some of these structures over here instead. The Zealots, meanwhile, also going to town. Yeah, I think he wants to go for an attack like that. Yep, Prism is coming up. I like it a lot. So, 2 Immortals. How many gateways are we talking right now? We're talking 8 gateways. So this is like... an old school +1 attack, charged zealot kind of like 8 gate all in off of 2 bases, except that he's cleaning creep. So this is like going back to basics, and I usually think that's the best move to make in these kind of scenarios. Now, oh my god, actually part of that Protoss army was busy cleaning the creep, and now they were now separated from the rest. That means that immediately they get blown up by a bunch of zealots, or a bunch of Zerglings rather, and a bunch of Banelings too. I mean, the Zerglings don't blow up, Lowko. How long have you been playing this game? That was quite sloppy, actually, though. Like, he was probably feeling a little bit too confident there. He was allowed to apparently clean up some of the creep here on the right, so he's like, okay, I guess I can do the same thing on the left. And then Zerg swooped in and did a lot of damage. Creep tumors still clawing themselves backwards. Bane speed and +1 are coming up right now. Bly is happily sitting here on 60 drones. That's basically 3 base saturation. And yeah, he's gonna be in a really comfortable position, right? Like, this is a beautiful spot to be in. Is he gonna take a 3rd base? Well, not with that probe he won. Yeah, he's sending out another one right now. Main base is starting to run low. Neeb a little bit indecisive right now. It kind of felt to me like he wanted to go for an all-in, but maybe he just made those 8 gateways because he assumed his opponent would be going for an all-in. And right now, wherever he goes, he's going to be on creep, right? So you never really want to fight Ling Bane on creep if you can at all avoid it. And usually that's one of the strengths of that, like Archon Immortal push, right? Like you can basically prevent yourself from fighting a lot of that. But anyways, we do see now the drop over here, and Zealots also in the top left-hand corner. They will be able to get a kill on that hatchery. That was not a cancel. Nexus is coming up. It's about a third of the way done. Looks like the hatch over here in the center of the map will also fall. Oh, there's actually a couple of units over here as well. Zerglings managed to run by, decided to recall some of those units towards the main base. 6 drones end up falling. I think that the hatchery in the center will also fall. Neeb looking stable right now. He's got a good amount of supply. He's got a bigger army here than his opponent as well, but he's got to be very careful, right? So very soon it's going to be Bly flying mutas across the map. And I don't think he necessarily wants to get into that position. The question is, though, is he really planning on mining that third base? Because if I look at the worker count right now, he's only got 43, which is just enough for 2 base saturation. I think he's going to probably transfer a couple of probes and then go for like a delayed 8 gateway all in. There's a lot of Archons here. Archons are amazing against mutas, so he already has the counter available. Another Prism is coming up as well. I think that the first one... No, it's actually still up. Oh my god, well... That was close. But yeah, he's probably going to try and hit him at 2 different angles. I wonder how these Mutalisks are going to do, because there's 11 of them coming. And Mutas, they're like every Protoss player's worst nightmare. So annoying to have to deal with. They fly everywhere and they just deal a lot of damage. Interestingly enough, this is turning into like a macro game right now. Which, yeah, I did not expect by seeing this early game. Well, you know what? Seeing the Mutas actually with this many Archons, yeah. Neeb is like, you know what? I just have the counter, right? I think I just might have enough. There is 9 more. Oh my god, that's going to be 20 mutas here. But I mean, that's a lot of Archons. I think he's just going to go in for the counterattack instead and maybe try and see if he can trigger the base race. Not a bad idea whatsoever. Yeah, the drones are right now already evacuating. So that's exactly what's going on. Mutas in the meantime are working on that second prism as well. But Zealots now in the main, in the natural. They kill all of the drones right away. Mutas now manage to go across the map. Roaches and Ravagers make their way over there as well. There's 1 photon cannon coming up. Couple of photon cannons inside of the main base. 2 third base basically undefended. So the Archons decide to cycle back once again. Additional High Templar coming up. Additional Archons are being added in. So technically speaking, the Archons do win the battle in one-on-one fights. But I guess that Bly is just never going to take that fight, right? He's just going to try and see if he can win the game by forcing the opponent to choose the base race instead. This is now already a lot of damage, actually, that's being dealt. Now, there's only a couple of workers at this point remaining, right? Looks like the hatchery in the main base will stay alive, but the Spire certainly will not stay alive. And, well, while the Roach Ravager Bull is being killed, the Mutas, man, they're dealing so much damage. Oh my god, this is not turning into an insane base race. This has to be one of the craziest games of ZVP that makes also a lot of sense. All of it makes sense, but it's certainly 2020 StarCraft, right? Like maybe even 2021. We're like a year ahead of the meta. Now careful, careful, careful. You cannot fly over those Archons. Like it's just not an option. So real quick, right? Yeah. There's really no mining anymore here for the Zerg player. If he loses this hatchery, he's actually going to be in a bunch of trouble. The third Nexus, it was not defended previously, but now it's got a couple of those glowy boys. The pulsating glowy boys. Ready to defend against any muta count. Main base still stays alive. Looks like the hatchery over there will also stay alive. Zealots, well, you know what? I think the Zealots are going to charge to kill the lair. Yep. They will be able to get the kill right now. But honestly, the fact that like there's still a hatch over here is not bad whatsoever. Spyro was killed though. Roach Warren and Bingling Nest and whatnot are still up, but I still like the tech here a little bit better for Protoss. The fact that Neeb is just going back right now to mining makes so much sense. Mutas aren't going to be able to do much. There's Archons in every single mineral line right now, so the Mutas are not going to be able to achieve very much at all. He's instead just going to try and Magic Box this. So Archons deal splash damage in a very small radius. Apparently just by Magic Boxing, he might be able to get rid of those units. I didn't think he dared to engage there. He's going to be so careful though. Mutas, try and get whatever value they can. Oh my god. It's one miss micro, right? One miss micro and this game is over. Those Mutas die super quickly. They also heal up very quickly for what it's worth. That was actually pretty good. 3 Archons were killed, 5 Mutas. Okay. I think that's a pretty good deal. And now the Mutas, oh my god, with the Archons and the Immortals once again clumped up together, the Mutas once more have free reign. Bly, you make the craziest moves, and I'm a fan. It's really cool. No one plays like this, man. It's so sick. So, Hatchery taken down the top left-hand corner as well. I think Bly is still making the assumption this is going to be a full-on base race. Yep. Probes will not live. That's 20 additional workers going down. Archons and Immortals in the meantime, though, do work on that hatchery. I still like this position for Neeb a lot. I still think this is just fine. He just does not know about the hatchery in the top left, right? No, he has no idea about that one. So the third Nexus will fall. There's not enough money here either for Neeb to produce another Nexus. So he can't, like, make another Nexus over here. This is gonna come down, I think, to the final structures. So the actual win condition of StarCraft 2 is killing all of your opponent's units and structures. Or actually, like, sorry, not units are irrelevant. Structures are the only thing that count. So you need to be able to kill all of your opponent's structures. That's the actual win condition. Now, most of the time, we don't really see it getting to that point. Because, well, you don't really, you know, get a lot of games that need to go to distance. Because it just kind of wastes everyone's time, right? In this case, though, oh, I love it. One Zealot made its way towards the top left. He knows what's going on. He knows where the final hatchery is. Final Nexus was just killed, so Bly is going to get the revelation message very soon. He will figure out where the final Protoss structures are. He needs to run a couple of drones away, though. One drone was already gone. There you go. So this is going to be the vision right now of Bly. He sees everything. He knows exactly where everything is located. Drones once again evacuating, but there's... Yeah, no, there is enough minerals right now. He's got 630 minerals to potentially add on a new structure. I think he may have not run the drones fast enough, though. He's going for one gas geyser over there. Hatchery in the top left-hand corner does fall. There's only... Oh my god, this is the final structure. This is the final structure. He needs to get something new. He needs to get something new. Hold up. He had that drone selected. Hold up. So this is like 1 second before the game is over. This is the final structure here of the Zerg player. Oh my god, he could have... Yeah, I think he was gonna plant down a hatchery right over here. But he must have, like, fumbled his hotkeys or something. Because the drone is selected right now. And then a second later, everything falls. I actually think... I don't know. I think Protoss was still ahead. Because the thing is, if you leave a couple of those Archons right on top of these shield batteries, they have to be killed as well, right? In order to, like, you know, obtain a victory for Zerg. There would be no way at all that Zerg could ever kill that. So he just needs to leave, like, maybe 4 Archons over there, and then he could counterattack with the rest of the units. Although, I say that, is there enough right now? It's only 6 Archons and 2 Stalkers. I guess Neeb would have to, like, split up his units, because the magic boxing, like, the spreading out of the Mutas, could probably even kill, like, 2 Archons on top of this. And if he commits too little to the counterattack, right, the Mutas will just clean up the counterattack instead, and then, you know, the final structure will never get killed. I think that Protoss was in a good spot here to either draw or, yeah, actually, I think it was either a draw or a loss. I think it was actually either a draw or a loss here for the Protoss player. Because Zerg, I mean, he could plant down one hatchery over here, but he actually saved up enough money here, so this is like foresight once again here from Bly, to like go one hatch over here and then maybe like one more hatch over here instead. Because if he can go back to mining and prevent the counterattacks, I mean, that would obviously be game over. Yeah, I think that Bly is not happy about this. So this is like, you know, right the moment where Neeb just barely obtains the victory. But I feel like the longer that I stare at this game, I feel like Bly actually was in a pretty good spot there to potentially still squeeze out a victory. And judging by the moves that he has been making so far, he knew what he needed to do. He was ready for it, but just a little bit late right there on that hatchery that he wanted to plant down. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, hit that like button down below. If you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get notified as soon as I upload future content. But for now, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Don't forget to smile. And I'll see you once again in the next one.